do it, man. What's going on?
Not much, man. How are you? Trying to fight this weather?
Oh man, it's crazy.
You got soaked on the way here.
Yeah, I did. That's all good, man. That's perfect. Great intro for what we're talking about today, isn't it? No, it's not.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the classic Melbourne subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what are we talking about, man?
We're talking about breaking into the design industry, and we're gonna do that in two parts. So we're gonna tell, your story, and Will's gonna tell my story. Today's my story.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Parte uno, Alejandro.
Yeah, that's it.
Take it away, man.
The goal, I think I wanted to start with a little bit of a goal, like what do I want to talk about today, and purpose as well. So it's not just about sitting here and talking about my story for the sake of it, but also as an opportunity to share what I've gone through, and hopefully that would help someone else out there.
I'm sure it'll resonate with somebody.
Yeah, hopefully.
Story.
Yeah, or it helps someone who's very early in their design career and they want to, break into the design industry.
Yeah, awesome, man.
So I think, to start with, you kind of have to go back, of course, to my student days and what I did.
Yeah.
I think, the whole idea of breaking into the design industry, it probably sounds worse than what it is. I think when I thought about that back then, I put a lot of pressure on myself.
You feel like you're trying to join a gang or a mafia.
Yeah, you feel like you're trying to, join a very secluded and close-knitted group of people, And the whole process is, it's very tedious. It takes the life out of you because, you're trying to impress people and you're trying to come up with the best work. And
I think at the same time, you're trying to realize who you actually are. And you're trying to build up your own persona.
Well, on top of
all
the work that you have to do. Exactly right.
Because you're just like, what do I do? Like, am I a designer or am I, something else? This is creative industry, but it's not just designers.
There's a lot of things that go through your mind, like the imposter syndrome, the feel that you're like, I'm not experienced enough. How am I going to get this job, or how am I going to, get the first foot in the door?
Yep.
So, I feel like everyone goes through that, and part of it is to acknowledge that, you're very early in your career and you have to be okay with it. So for me, it goes back to, uni days. I remember the last year in my degree, we basically, all of us were, at that point where you're having that conversation. Yeah, exactly. Everyone in the class was going through the same thing. Like, okay, next up, we got to find our jobs. They did promote the concept of internships as a way to, gain experience and get the foot in the door.
It's the most straightforward path, and it's very common in the industry.
It is. It is and it isn't, right? Because there's no guarantee, right? Like, you can apply for a lot of internships, still don't get them.
What I mean by that is that it sounds like it's a natural first step. Like, you have no experience, therefore you should probably go into or after an internship that you may most likely not be paid.
Oh, in most cases it isn't. Yeah, and there's that trade of work for experience. Yep. Exactly. Free work, I should say. Free labor for experience.
Slavery.
Yeah.
It could feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, I don't actually know how this works in other countries, but it's very common in the design industry in Australia to do that. I don't know if it was the same in Mexico. Yeah, like working in, doing internships.
Yeah, I never did an internship in Mexico. I was lucky enough to hang out with professionals or people that were already on their way to doing something else with their lives. Or not something else with their lives, but building up their career. And they will pull me over, or they will start their own design studio, and they will give me a few hours here and there, and then just pay something for my to pay my lunch or transport, something like that. But never did an internship as such in Mexico.
Okay.
But what
was
your experience, man?
I'd be curious to know if that's something that happens in other countries. Anyway, what happened to me was, I was in this process of also like to your point before, figuring out where I wanted to go in terms of design.
Yep.
You know, at the time I was very interested in a lot of things. And
you're trying a little bit of everything.
Actually, if you saw the elective classes I took at uni, they were so random. I was doing video, actually.
Right.
I was also doing illustration, but I had this class, which was basically an experiment. Okay, so you come up with your own brief. You design your own brief. Which was super interesting because most of the time you just get given something, and then the entire semester you basically develop the brief and then develop the work, create the work.
Okay.
So find a solution for it.
This is a creative brief. The semester.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is it for 6 months? The unit?
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember. Maybe it was 3 months.
It's for the whole block.
But exactly. It was a term.
Okay,
it was for a whole term. So that was your project.
Clearly didn't go to uni here, man. So I don't know.
Well, I don't remember, so that's not much of a help. But basically, I created a brief that was to design a set of icons.
Okay.
And at the time, I was really curious about UI, but I didn't know it was a thing. And I don't know, there was just something in me that was, I've tried all these things. I've tried illustration, I've tried video, I've tried like actual graphic design. But this thing about digital, I haven't, right? Yeah. And I couldn't place it. I didn't know what it was.
This in terms of the timeline?
We're talking 2013, 2014.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I developed this set of icons and I did everything manually, right? Which was super interesting.
Okay, that's crafty.
Yeah, very much so. And then the whole brief, I designed the brief around the set of icons, being like to be utilized in the UI of a phone, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
I was almost like I was doing the set of icons for a operating system.
Okay.
You know, like
gotcha.
if I was to replace if I was to replace all the UI for an iPhone and iOS operating system.
Yeah.
And then I designed everything from scratch. It was really cool because then I got to create some of the UI screens. And this is like I'll try to find it. Like we could probably put the reference
if you can find it
here, like the visual reference.
I'll include it here. Yeah.
Yeah, because it
so we can make fun of your
actually
your first attempt.
It's still on my Behance profile until this day. Yeah,
okay, so
you can go and find it.
You definitely can find it.
100%. Because I thought it was really good for what it was. You know, with zero experience. And then I was very careful about the details. So the whole design evolved around, this circular shape. And so, they were all like symmetric. And the goal was that I could create a family. So, without actually knowing anything about digital, somehow I was, and somehow I was like paving my own path into the future, which is interesting now that I think about it.
Was that a key part of your journey into breaking into the industry?
100%. 100%. Because that was a project that got me my job, my first official job. And so, that was the whole backstory, right? Because what happened after was,
it's so rewarding, man, when you put so much work into something and then you show it to somebody else and all of a sudden you get rewarded with, in this case, the internship. Which is a job?
It was an internship, but it became a job.
Well, okay.
Right.
Nice, yeah.
And so, but it was very rewarding. I think, everyone else at the time was really heavy on graphic design. And so a lot of my friends at uni, they went to design studios, like actual graphic design studios. And the very traditional path for designers. Whereas, I was like, I'm going to try something different. And I found this company, it was a startup, and they were looking for web designers. They called them web designers back then.
That was it. That was the term back in the day.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, sure. I'm going to apply for this thing. And not knowing what it was, I eventually got an interview, and that was the project that I show was the whole iconography set. And I think I must have said something like, I don't know much about digital, but hey, I'm very curious, and like this is an example of that. I want to learn more about this. And
they probably saw the potential in you beyond the piece of work, you know?
Yeah.
They must have seen that as like, because I remember going into interviews and showing that piece of portfolio, and then part of the feedback will be, this is not the up to the scratch that we're after in the studio, but we can see the potential.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this piece of work that you talk about, but maybe it was great, and on top of that, they saw your potential.
I think they probably thought, this isn't the best work I've seen, but it goes to show that the guy wants to do it, you know, that he's got that drive, you know, and I think
100%.
Anyway, I think that was the sort of pivotal moment for me when I went, I'm going to actually go full in, what is it?
You got in?
Yeah. All in.
Oh, you went all in.
I want to go all in this digital world thing.
And that's how you broke into the industry.
Yeah, and so...
Awesome. Let's wrap it up, man.
That's the end.
That's the end. No.
Yeah, it was... After that, man, like it's when it starts to get interesting because, you find an internship, then you're like, great. I mean, well, quote unquote in, I felt really good about myself because I was like, I finally got a professional job, quote unquote, even though I wasn't getting paid or anything, but I don't know. It just felt like I was in the right place too, because I was doing something different, and I felt like, very naively, but I felt like I was going into an industry that wasn't going to die. It was an industry that was, if anything, was going to grow.
Thrive.
And luckily I was right.
So you started in digital, but did you ever go back or to traditional design during your days of work, your professional life?
No, I never worked in a graphic design studio.
No branding,
nothing.
Advertising.
No.
Right.
No, it was just purely digital.
Yeah. That's because you decided to do that.
Yeah, because I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do graphic design every now and then for the fun.
Yeah. But in terms of professional work.
In terms of work, it was just digital. Yeah. So, and it's funny because this internship wasn't a glamorous digital studio either.
Yeah.
They were a startup. It was a very small agency, and they were only requiring web designers because they were a SEO agency and they were trying to expand their services.
Yeah.
So, if you were an SEO client, you could also get a website design for us.
Yeah. You mean by you?
Yeah, sorry, by us.
Yeah.
Sorry. And for them, by us. And so
always good.
So at the end, man,
nice.
I started basically building websites. That was kind of the job, and a lot of ads as well, like banner ads.
The classic MREX and skyscrapers.
All of that stuff. Yes. All the Facebook ads. We did it was cool because, a lot of them were basic, right? But we still had a little bit of creative freedom. And I brought that to the agency too. I think my graphic design background also taught me to be, in that way, kind of challenge the brief and think, broadly about, how can you solve a problem. So, whenever I got a banner ad for a plumber, I would try to find a way to make it creative, and sometimes you couldn't because it was really hard.
Challenge the brief.
We didn't have any photos. This is when Unsplash didn't exist, right?
Some really dry industries and dry briefs, and it's like, how can you make it interesting? Because at the end of the day, you are a creative mind, so
totally
you want to make it.
You want to make it fun. But one thing that first job taught me was that not everything needs to look amazing just for the sake of it. I think you need to find the balance between something that's effective and it looks good. And when I mean effective, I mean that it sells, right? So that was a harsh reality too. I came from a school of, very abstract thinking.
Make it look pretty.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Well, even beyond that, not just pretty, I think just look deeper into this thing, right? And trying to find the meaning of it. That's kind of the school I came from. Whereas this was more like, you got to get done fast and it's got to sell, right? World. So there was more of a business side of it,
of course,
which I didn't have. And that was great because it taught me that. And after a couple of years, just, I guess, finding my way through, the digital world and finding, what UI was and UX was and learning. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Like, I was learning on the job, man. Like, I didn't have a lot of experience, of course.
I wanted to ask you actually before that, how many times did you have to apply? How many internships did you go for before you got this? Do you remember?
Not really,
Is it like
but I'd say, probably say a handful. Like
a handful?
Yeah, I'm not 1,000, but it was like I probably had like 10 or 20 applications, maybe less. Like you have to apply for a few before you get one.
Yeah, so it wasn't like the first one.
No,
done, you got it.
No.
Okay, that's good to know because sometimes we get frustrated when you try to get a job, or even now, man. Like when you're pitching for a piece of work and then you don't get it, then you start to get frustrated. You start with that self-doubt, like, am I doing it right? What am I doing wrong? What's going on? Why nobody wants to give me, back in the day, that brief?
No, it definitely didn't happen right away. Yeah. I had to apply for a few.
So back to what you were saying before, you were learning on the job. You didn't have the knowledge,
every day.
I guess?
No, every day was a learning curve. And so much so that, we were building websites on Photoshop. So
I remember those days.
Yeah, and so
thank God they're gone.
I know. It was painful. It was very painful. But that's just one of the many things that I had to learn. Given the size also of this agency, I was wearing all the hats. I think I've spoken about this in previous episodes, but you're trying to basically do everything, not just being a designer. You're also trying to help with the pitch. You're also trying to, you sometimes pick up the phone and, talk to a potential client. Like, this is the kind of stuff I was exposed to. So the only reason why I bring this up is because I could have thought about that, internship as like, this is not, the greatest design studio that I've always dreamed, to work at. But if I had thought that way, I would have missed on a massive opportunity to learn so much.
You had so much exposure. It sounds like you just...
It was amazing. It was a school. It was an unpaid school. Eventually, actually, by the way, I should say, they offered me a job and they started paying me. So the internship lasted maybe 3 months or so. Okay. So just to clarify that. Yeah. And, when they offered me the job,
excuse me, man.
It wasn't...
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. They didn't offer me a lot of money, but that was okay because, again, I was my first job.
Did you go in there knowing that there was a possibility to get a job after that, or was it always going to be an internship?
I didn't know. When I first started, I thought it was only going to be an internship.
Yeah, so they never say this may turn into...
Nah. I think halfway through, I was more... I was keen... I was keen to stay because, again, I saw the potential.
The reason why I ask it is because sometimes you go into an internship and they say, this is 3 months, 6 months internship, and then that's it. We may turn it into a full-time job, but they're not committing. Yeah. So sometimes you go in, and then in this case, if they didn't say that and they actually turn into a job, they must have seen the value. So it was worth putting the effort.
I was so grateful because I don't know what would have happened if I've gone back to, looking for a job. Because I don't think there were that many digital design studios back then, or certainly not many people doing web and things like that. Maybe there were, but they were harder to find. So look, I stood there and
how much
2 years later,
that's after the internship.
Actually 1.5 years. I kind of jumped the gun, but like 1.5 years after that, the creative director left.
Right.
We call him a creative director. He was more like a design director, really. He was running the whole design team and department, really. Yeah. So he was doing everything. This guy found a better job. He left, and then the only obvious alternative was me. So they were like, Ale, are you ready to step up? And by that time, I wasn't.
Okay,
Even after,
let's just put it out there. You went up, but you didn't say that.
Of course not, but it's like it's the same thing. It resembles exactly what happened in the very first day. I had no idea what actually I was getting into. I had like 1.5 years of quote unquote training because I saw how everything was made, and
but then it was time for you to step
up, you know, to actually grab the bull by the horns and run this thing. It was very, very scary, man. Yeah. And again, the imposter syndrome hits because you're like, I can't do this. You know, there's no way. I have no idea. I have no experience.
And there's a guy before you had a few years under his belt.
Oh, mate, this guy, like
which makes it even harder for you.
20 years.
Okay. Which makes it even harder for you to believe that you can actually do the job.
Well, you always look up to this person in the first place. You think, I mean, they're there because they deserve it, whereas I was there just by luck. That's how I felt. But you know what? I sat down and thought, you know what? This is one of those opportunities that it's never going to happen again in this way. So I'm going to take it.
You might as well take it.
You know, what's the worst can happen? I suck and they fire me. So be it. Right? Like really, you know, probably I didn't think about that. I'm just saying that now in retrospect.
I've actually never been in that situation in which somebody leaves and then you have to step up. I usually have to be fighting for that position myself. You know, like you need to get your elbows out and try to fight for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And it really most of the time depends on the person that's above you to give you the opportunity, like to recognize 100%. That you're trying to step up in your career.
100%.
And you know, it doesn't mean they're going to lose their job if they give you a hand. You know,
no, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. No, I mean, if anything, that's one thing that you learn is like, you can always help other people. In fact, you should always help other people succeed. And that was something that the guys that run the agency, you know, I'm friends with one of them still. And he always believed that, you know, he wanted people to be better.
Okay.
So everyone, we had an amazing team there because everyone was young. Everyone was trying to find their way. And the way he saw the team was like a kind of ever-evolving team, you know, and everyone was learning their craft. We're literally learning on the job. And
people
one
were
day,
hungry to do more,
totally.
To do better.
And one day, everyone was going to leave. And they were going to do amazing things. And that actually happened. Everyone that left the agency has amazing jobs now.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So the agency doesn't exist now?
No, the agency doesn't exist anymore. And not with that team. Oh, well, I don't know.
Because you left. What happened after that?
Well, before I say what happened, like, so he left, going back to that point, the creative director left. Oh, yeah. I took the gig. And I was there for about a year. As a design lead. I changed the title to design lead because I didn't think I was a creative director. I was more a design lead, and we actually had a couple of interns come in and you know help with some work. It was tough, man, because you know you go from being the doer to being the leader now. So I was like basically changing my mindset again. So in a very short period of time, I went from being a intern all the way to being the leader of a team. And I wouldn't change that for anything because it was...
Sounds like a great experience.
It was the best experience of my career.
Of what it's like to be in front of the team and
100%.
Lead the way.
Totally. And I'm here today because of that. So, again, like breaking into the design industry may sound daunting. I think if I had to like summarize my experience into something that it's tangible and someone can take away is be open to opportunities. Don't think there's only one way. And be okay if that opportunity is not the one that you dreamt of, because there may be something there that you don't know. It might lead somewhere else, and it may lead to something amazing. So yeah, hopefully someone can take that away and apply it.
Well, if nobody does, I'll take it away, man. Don't worry. I got you back, bro.
Nice. Good one, man.
Thanks for that one, man.
Man.
Next time, we're going to talk about my story and how I broke into the industry.
I'm looking forward to that one.
And you and I, we have different stories, different backgrounds. The only constant that you and I have is South America. Well, coming from South America and North America.
Yeah.
And design. That's it.
That's it. That's why I'm interested to see what's going on.
The way I got here, as in where we are in our careers, is completely different.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this one up.
Let's do it, man. All right.
All right. Vámonos.